This Dogman sighting comes out of Michigan. The witness says that he has had 3 encounters with a wolf-like creature, stating that the first sighting happened on February the 2nd of 2016. It was 4:38 in the morning when he was shoveling his driveway as it was snowing heavily, but that he had to get it clear for the propane delivery, saying that there is woods all around his place, and that this encounter happened on the south side of his house. Now he was about halfway done with the shoveling when all of a sudden he heard a splash in the creek. He thought it was probably a deer that he spooked, so he stopped working and started scanning the woods and the creek for whatever made the splash. This is when he says he saw this huge, and when he said huge, he meant huge, wolf-like creature. This creature leapt into the air and took off at an almost supersonic burst of speed, he said, heading to the west, crossing the road in a dead run. So I would say that this creature must have been really fast for the witness to describe it that way, while saying that he had heard branches being snapped right and left. Well after this creature was out of sight. He says at this point that he just stood there frozen. He was in total shock and amazement at the same time. What he had just seen was amazing. Now for the second encounter with this creature, the witness says that this encounter was on April 11th of 2016, that it was around 3:15 that day. Now he says that he had been really shaken up over the first sighting, and that this was his first trip back into the woods after it. He says he was just out walking the property, which consists of 30 acres of hardwood and creek bottom. He was crossing the creek heading east when he caught something moving out of the corner of his eye to the south. He thought at first that he was looking at a black bear, that it was about 30 to 35 yards away from him, saying that it was tearing at the west bank of the creek. Then the witness said that it stood up and that he was frozen again, while it turned around and stood on its 2 legs. This creature was at least 7 to 7.5 feet tall. He says that he was standing in the middle of the creek and absolutely shitting himself. The witness said he didn't want to run, thinking that it might cause this creature to give chase. Well, he said he did bring a firearm with him into the woods. He didn't think it would do much to this creature. Then all of a sudden it raised its head and nose straight up through the air, while sniffing a couple of times. Then immediately looked to the east. Then it looked at the witness again. Then the witness said it took off with 2 huge strides heading east, back into the thicket. Now the witness said after this creature cleared the thicket, that it jumped into the trees and was jumping from treetop to treetop. Saying that this creature had black fur, it was matted and smelled horrendous, like rotten guts and rotten fruit, he said. Now the first wolf-like creature he'd seen had grayish-looking fur with a small amount of white mixed in, while they both had pointed ears, with this thing having a snout and jagged-looking teeth, while they both did have tails, but that the second one had much bigger claws than the first one did. Now he says that the third and final sighting happened on May the 2nd of 2016, that it was around 9:20 that evening. He was outside collecting kindling for a fire. He was at the tree line on the south side again when he heard a loud snap. He says that he stopped what he was doing and started listening for any movement. Now again he said that he was at the tree line that he doesn't go into the woods anymore. He says after the 2 sightings he had that he is just too frightened to step into them. Then he said that he heard rustling sounds, then another snap, saying that this snap didn't sound like a stick or twig snapping. It sounded like to him that it was more of a bone snapping sound. When the sound started to intensify, he says that this is when he turned his flashlight on and started to scan the woods for whatever was making the noise. When his flashlight hit another one of these creatures, while keeping his flashlight on this creature, he says that this thing let out a deep growling sound that literally shook him. That this creature was only about 25 yards from him. That its eyes were glowing yellow in color. That it was snarling at him. This is when he says that he started to back up slowly. When this thing stood straight up and bent over something on the ground, picking whatever it had up. He still had his flashlight on this creature at this point, saying that after it picked up whatever it was after, that it turned and looked right at him, looking at him as if he had interrupted the creature doing something. Then this creature turned and just walked off towards the south, disappearing into the woods. The witness said that his cousin came over the next day. They walked down to where the creature had been, and that they found a hide, and only the hide of a white-tailed deer. The witness says that he really believes that the creature was responsible for this, that the creature he saw reminds him of a werewolf. He says that each time he saw one of these creatures that it would get super quiet, and that really freaks him out. He says, doing research on the property, that it has a lot of Indian burial sites, with heavy woods and fresh water running throughout it. The witness says that he used to walk the woods 4 or so times a week, but that after the sightings that he has a hard time just going to the tree line. And that at this point, the woods are out of the question, he says. So that was a good sighting report. This Dogman sighting report consists of 3 different sightings by the same witness. The witness says that he has had 3 different sightings with 3 different creatures over the years. He says that when he was younger, that he saw a creature that looked like a wolf or a large German shepherd on its hind legs, that it was running through a thick patch of woods. He says the sighting only lasted for a second or two, but that he can still remember its long muzzle, and that it had pointed ears. He says that he can distinctly remember all this. Now the witness says that the second encounter was more exciting, stating that it was late at night, that the family had had a small barbecue party at his uncle's farm, that the farm was just miles from Ann Arbor. He says that he was coming out of the barn to get some more food, when all of a sudden he heard sticks breaking, saying that the sounds came from his right, just inside the tree line. His first impression was that one of the dogs had gotten out. So he went to check out and see if this was the case. So he was walking towards the sound. Now he says that he remembers hearing the creature flinch. Now I don't really get how you hear a creature flinch, but I'll go with it. And that the movement stopped as he approached. Now he says that while peering into the trees that he called out for the golden retriever. Now he said that the barn had spotlights that faced the house, that with the house being painted white, that it just gave off a nice glow, that made it easier to see. Now he said that he noticed a muzzle poking out of the trees, that this muzzle was about 7 feet off the ground, Then following the muzzle out of the tree line was a full figure of this creature, and that it was only about 20 feet away from him. So he says that he got the full picture of this thing, stating that this thing was tall and lean, but very muscular, that it also had a distinct brown pelt on its body, while having blackish looking fur on its shoulders, that the paws on this creature's feet were huge, but that it looked to have fingers on its hands, almost human looking if it wasn't for the fur, not to mention its claws on them. Now the witness said that the most scariest thing about the creature was its head. The witness said that this creature looked like it was snarling, but the witness thinks that this creature might have been trying to smile. But with its huge canines, if it was trying to smile, you wouldn't be able to notice it over the fear in your heart. The witness said that he didn't see what color its eyes were. Now he says as the creature came into full view, that he said to himself, "Werewolf." This is when the witness said he started to back up slowly, but that the creature just stood there watching him and looking like a proud hunter that just took down its prey. He says that this sighting seemed to had lasted about 30 minutes, but that maybe 30 seconds was more like it. Now his father, uncle, cousin, and grandfather came out of the barn. Now this creature just took off. That when he saw this thing run, he meant that it ran. It turned and dropped to all fours and leaped back off into the tree line, making only a slight noise. The witness said that he told his cousin what he had seen, but that he didn't believe him. He didn't tell his father because he said that his father didn't believe in this kind of stuff, and that he wouldn't have believed him anyway. Now, as for the third sighting, the witness said it happened in his own backyard. That one night the same type of creature knocked on his window. He says that he had his curtains drawn to give him a view of the woods. That he lives in a patch of woods next to a fire road. He says that he was having trouble getting to sleep this night. That he really didn't know how to explain or describe it. That it was just an uneasy feeling. As he was lying there trying to get to sleep, that he heard a slight scraping sound, which appeared to be coming from the wall of his house, just below his window, he said. He says that his window is about 8 feet off the ground. He says at this time he sat up in the bed, that he was going to see what was going on. When he looked out the window, that he could only see what appeared to be the head of a werewolf, just looking into his window, which is only about 10 feet from his bed. He says he cursed and jumped out of bed while grabbing a survival machete that he kept in his closet. He turned to see if this creature was still there, but that it had already disappeared. Now the next day the witness said that he went outside and looked all over that area to see if he could find any evidence of this creature being there, but that he didn't find a thing. For about a day, the witness said he was unsure of himself. Wow, now I think I would have been as well. See something like that and just no sign of it? Yeah, I'd be a little bit off too. So what did you think about this sighting? Drop me a comment down below and let me know. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you can keep up with all of our latest videos. And thanks for watching those endless mysteries.